Assalamualaikum everyone. Welcome to the online session on interdisciplinary career shift. And today, for the session, we have our mentor Osama Javed Mirza joining us from University of Cambridge. He is alums 2013 alum from BS Physics. So over to you, Osama.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aisha, for organizing this and for inviting me today. And Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Really nice to meet all of you. Uh, so, I'll tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about how I have jumped from career to career. And then, inshallah, this will be an interactive workshop. Um, I did my O levels in A levels in Islamabad once upon a time and graduated in 2009. और तब से मैं conflicted था because I've always loved the sciences, but I've also loved subjects like arts and history. और उस जमाने में हमेशा हमें ये बताया जाता था कि you can choose one or the other. And मतलब कि unless you get into a top liberal arts university somewhere in the US जहाँ आपको ये mixture मिल जा सकता है दोनों का, उसके अलावा जो है you have to basically pick and choose. तो मेरा दाखला फिर फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटीज में नहीं हुआ इन दी एंड तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वन ऑफ द बेस्ट डिसीजंस एंड थिंग्स दैट हैपन इन माय लाइफ वाज कि मेरा दाखला लम्स में हो गया और मैंने जो है वहाँ फिर फिजिक्स में डिग्री किया और फिजिक्स में बहुत मज़ा आया और साथ साथ जो है लम्स का जो अंडर ग्रेजुएट डिग्री है इट अलाउज यू टू टेक electives. तो आई वाज एबल टू टेक electives इन टॉपिक्स लाइक philosophy एंड जर्नलिज्म. तो उससे भी मैं काफ़ी मुतासिर हुआ था एंड दैट चेंज्ड माय पर्सपेक्टिव ऑन अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स. So this is how I began with a quantitative skill set, if you will, something within the sciences. एक जो मजे की बात है लम्स का जो करिकुलम है उसमें आपको केमिस्ट्री और बायोलॉजी का भी एक्सपोजर मिलता है. फोर्स एनरोल करवाते हैं आपको और कंप्यूटर साइंस में तो आपका थोड़ा सा वो भी हो जाता है. um, इसके अलावा जो है I took part in LUMS emergency medical services and I got trained as a medical first responder. That brought in some medical experience. I dealt with a lot of emergencies on campus. And in my last year, I became head of training of that program. And that then brought in, shall we say, teaching experience. So after my 4 years of undergrad, I realized that what I really love at that moment in time is teaching. So I became a teacher. I taught at high schools in Islamabad and in Lahore. And I got really frustrated with the fact that I had to teach in boxes. Physics ये पढ़ाना है मैंने और मतलब कि math course मैंने ये पढ़ाना है उनके आपस में जो है मैं connections आसानी से नहीं पैदा कर सकता हूँ क्योंकि आपका एक पास एक final exam होता है. तो मैंने बहुत कोशिश की मैंने extracurricular courses शुरू किए in which I brought the sciences and the humanities etc. together and I began teaching my first aid courses at these schools as well and I began to realize the possibilities that open up when you bring people across disciplines together. So this is a little bit, and then I got accepted for the Fulbright program. I went to Teachers College, Columbia University in the US, which is now a hotspot of fascism, and the university is in a miserable state right now because of what is happening. But at the time, it was an amazing, amazing experience, and I got to take courses not only in education, but within law, within policy, and within philosophy. And that was a beautiful thing about the Masters of Education program they had over there. I also got trained as an emergency medical technician from New York State. So, and another thing that was happening over there was that they had a lot of workshops on entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship. So I got exposed to that. So long story short, after I finished my master's, I came back to Pakistan and I launched a social initiative called Saving Nine, which was focused on first aid and mental health education and community mobilization. So I began in physics. I brought in the medical from my volunteer passions. I brought in the teaching from my volunteer passions. I had a little bit of this humanities background that came from my undergrad as well. And then I brought all of this together in terms of starting a social enterprise, which I worked on for 7 years in Pakistan, and it's still ongoing, alhamdulillah. And at the same time, I began a parallel career as a science education consultant with schools and with INGOs. I worked on Pakistan's national curriculum. I've worked with various schools, international baccalaureate, A levels, O levels in public schools. And then I got tired of practical life and I decided I want to do a PhD. So then I applied and I got into the University of Cambridge with the Gates Cambridge Scholarship. And my research is on science and religion education. And I argued that my experience in public health, in science, and in the humanities had made me realize that issues like mental health, issues like COVID-19 vaccination have a science and religion component to them. That if you, for example, go for therapy, you're going to be thinking that this is like, something that science says is good for me to do, it will help me heal, or you are thinking that this is part of a spiritual healing that I need to do that may involve, say, for example, reflecting the Quran and Sunnah as well. And often, depending on what your school of thought is and where you lie on this, you may trust certain experts and not trust certain experts who may have a religious background or may not have a religious background. And this is a huge bearing on public policy in Pakistan. So, long story short, that's what I'm doing my PhD on. And because of all of this, I have jumped in many different places. And I'm here to tell you and to show you how to make it possible for yourself. If you have always been in one box and you want to consider jumping into another box, you have come to the right place. I have also been on the Fulbright Scholarship panel. I have spent several years assessing candidates in the interviews and in their applications, and then finalizing candidates for the Fulbright. And the reason why I share this is because I have that insight of what kind of profile you need in order to have a competitive application for a career jump. If you want to go, for example, from physics to, I don't know, performing arts, or you want to go from economics to biology, there are ways to do it, and I'm here to teach you some of those tricks. Uh, okay, so without further ado, let me begin. Where is my slide deck? Okay, so I've kind of given a bit of an intro about myself. Now, we're going to start with everyone doing a little bit of a self-reflection exercise in breakout rooms of two, and then we're going to regroup together to talk about this work experience toolkit that I have created, which is entirely on the basis of my own experience and not any theory or research. And then, inshallah, we'll jump into Q&A at the end. Oh, sorry, before this. Well, actually, we have to use a scenario. So, okay. Here's a case study. Anya has an undergraduate degree in English literature. She has taught high school students for 2 years. She now wants to pursue her master's in data science on a full scholarship abroad. She also wants to try working in the public policy sector. I have met many Anyas in my life, and I have helped quite a few of them. And I think this is quite a common case scenario that we find nowadays. A lot of people want to try jumping into data science. So I thought it would be nice to use this as a case study. But before we actually jump into Anya, I want you to try placing, like, some of you may be in the same situation. You've always had a dream career you want to do, and you've always been hesitant about making the jump, or you're considering making the jump, but you're not sure whether to do it. So, what I would like us to do is for, shall we say, 10 minutes, Miss Aisha, if you could put people into breakout rooms of two. And I would like you to share with the person you have this breakout room. What is it, the career jump you want to do? And I want you to reflect on these questions. The first is, what do I like and dislike about my current career? Am I thinking of switching because I myself want to, or because of an external influence? What actually excites me about the new possible career? What kind of people do I like working with? That's very important. What kinds of skills and talents do I currently have? On what basis do I think I will do well in my new possible career? Do I have reliable info on what my prospects would be in the new career? And how much time and financial flexibility do I have to make a switch? You don't have to literally answer all of these questions in 10 minutes. Just have a brief conversation. Let's get our juices flowing and thinking about this topic. Over to you, Miss Aisha.
Sure. I'm training room two.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear that. You're creating breakout rooms with two people in each room?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
वो आप मुझे बता दें उस टीम को डॉलर अगर आप पूरी टीम कर लेते हो फिर उसको कहा था कि सब लोग करिए 200 300 डॉलर पूरी टीम की कुछ ऐसे नहीं बोल रहे चेक कर लेना कि
I will just put these questions in the chat as well.
सब
I guess while that's being set up, does anyone have any questions about the activity or otherwise?
मैंने तो बताया हुआ था मुझे क्या आप बता दीजिएगा फिर से एक बात अब तो आपने
Nice to see you, Sarem. I can't hear you. Oh, okay.
Hi, for those who have just joined in, we are right now in the middle of an activity, so everyone's back in the breakout room. They'll join us back in like 5 minutes. If you want, I can split you all into the breakout rooms as well. And the activity is that you have to answer the questions that are listed in the chat box by Osama. Just raise your hand in case you want to be assigned into a breakout room.
ये 3,000 का पैकेट
Miss Aisha, I'm not sure where I am. Have I added myself into the main room?
Yes, you're in the main room.
Right, okay. And everyone else are people who are kind of done with their chats and have joined back in, yeah?
Yeah. And there are a few students who have just joined us now, like Palvasha has just joined us.
Sure. I'm personally happy to have the session recorded if anyone would like, no problem from my end. I guess let's bring people back in a minute.
Sure.
I guess everyone's back.
To help others and coach
का जो
others.
वही रूटीन की चीज़ें चल रही होती हैं और इसके अलावा हॉस्टल लाइफ है साथ साथ वो चल रही है
Hi, Faiz, you're back in the main room.
ओके ओके ओके
Hi, now everyone's is back into the main room.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. And hopefully that got people thinking a little bit about their own contexts and some questions that might arise about the possibilities of making a career shift. Now I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see. Hopefully this will work. Can you all see my screen?
Yep, we can see the slides.
Okay, wonderful. So um, here is, so now everyone has thought a little bit about their own context. Now we're going to apply this scenario again. Just to recap, the scenario is Anya has an undergraduate degree in English literature. She has taught high school students for 2 years. She now wants to pursue her master's in data science on a full scholarship abroad. And she also wants to try her hand at working in the public policy sector. So this is what I call the building work experience toolkit. And we're going to now step by step apply these points to Anya's context and see what comes up. So broadly speaking, I think that there are three really important things that we need to think about when planning a career shift into a new direction. The first is if, for example, you are jumping from English literature, which is qualitative and reading and writing based work, into data science, which is, shall we say, quantitative and coding and sciencey work. Do not think that you are like a newborn who has no prior experience that cannot be of any benefit to your new career. In fact, the top universities in the world want people with a very diverse and different background because they really value the different perspective you bring. So, and I'm not saying that generically, I will just show you examples. So the first thing is use what you already have. And I'm just going to jump on the sub points in a bit. The second thing is, okay, if, for example, there are some gaps in terms of what you need to get into a master's program for data science or what you need to get your first paid job for data science, then you can strategically build those new experiences. And by experiences, I do not mean getting a 9 to 5 job or something that, has to have written proof that you did this job. That's not needed in the market anymore. Instead, for example, even work shadowing, internship, any personal initiatives you take, you can add all of that to your CV if you are in university and you're working as part of a student society. That is incredibly valuable experience that you should add to your CV and highlight it proudly upfront. Do not create a separate section called professional experience and a separate section called student societies. There is no need to say that because that really undersells the value of the work you are doing. A lot of the work we do in student societies is much more impressive than a lot of the mundane work we do in 9 to 5 jobs. So you should really sell it. And the way to do that is just by having a section in your CV that says experience or relevant experience and keep it at that. But I'll jump into that in more detail. And the last thing is extend your network. We all have really valuable networks, which often we don't know how to leverage because a lot of us are introverts and we're not really sure how to put ourselves out there and ask people for support. And inshallah, I'm going to jump into some of this. Okay, let's apply this to Anya. So, as I said, Anya has a background in English literature. So, what could this possibly have to do with data science? So if you look at the left of this slide, what does an English literature degree give you? Yeah, and these are the kind of points you can put into your personal statement essay when you apply for college. These are the kind of points you will put into your cover letter when you're applying for a job. These are the kind of points you will put on your LinkedIn profile when you are announcing to everyone that you are making this exciting career shift. So, for example, English literature gives you strong analytical and critical thinking skills. That sounds very nice and generic, but how does that relate to data science? In data science, you have a lot of messy qualitative data you often have to work with. Qualitative data means to do with words as opposed to numbers. And if you have an English literature degree, you really understand whether a data science program or tool or analytical process is actually making some sense of that data in a sensible way. You have a superpower on this front and you should totally sell it. Secondly, as an English literature major, chances are you're going to have exceptional communication skills. What we call data storytelling is a very, very in-market demand skill right now. People have numbers, people have a lot of data, qualitative and quantitative, but they often don't know how to sell it to the public or how to sell it to a potential donor, funder, or corporation. English literature majors, because they have to constantly study prose and make sense of what is effective writing, they have a real superpower on this front as well. And then thirdly, human-centered perspective. What does this mean? Now, we all know that algorithms and data can sometimes be biased. Um, and if you have a background in English literature, chances are you have studied power structures, colonial legacies, and identity issues in novels and in writing. Now, when you see a narrative, like, for example, there's a data science project on interviews from across Pakistan on the experiences of mothers who have been widowed. I don't know, something like that. So then you can, and you are using data science to mass analyze this data and to come up with insights. Now, your programs will give you information, but those programs are not going to be necessarily aware of whether there are colonial undertones within what is being said, whether there are identity issues that are popping out. These are inferences that you have to bring into the system as well. And so having that humanities background can make a big, big difference. And what kind of careers can you possibly have that bring English literature and data science together? Data journalism, ethics in artificial intelligence is a very, very hot field right now. A lot of funding is coming into this across the world, from China to the US. Natural language processing, that's why there's a picture of Wall-E over there, if you've seen the Disney movie, because there is a need to understand how humans express themselves and to have these machines, these softwares that are able to express themselves in human-like language. Now, the pathos and ethos and all of those skills you learn from English literature can be of great value on this front as well. Similarly, what we call human-computer interaction and social science data analytics, as I've just given a bit of an idea of. Uh, so, are there people who have made a jump from humanities to data science? Many. And it is very helpful to actually study their LinkedIn profiles and to see how they have built their narrative. So, this lady has a background in philosophy, and she is now leading data science firms within the UK. How does she talk about it? Look at the bottom where she says about. I have spent the past decade of my career working to make technology better serve the needs of marginalized and at-risk people, with a particular focus on responsible artificial intelligence, data privacy, and digital rights. So she's using her skill set in ethics that comes from philosophy, and she is applying it to data science. If you actually look at her LinkedIn profile, you can Google her right now if you like. She has a lot of data science internships and experience in consulting she's done. She's also been a part of a lot of artificial intelligence and ethics firms. So she's brought all of that together. And she uses words like algorithmic, justice, and responsible AI, which are in-demand skills that often you don't immediately think when you think, okay, what do I do with data science and these sort of machine learning fields? But there it is. And these sort of people are highly in demand in the market right now. At the University of Cambridge, every week we hear about a new scholarship or new funded center that's open that has to do with AI and ethics, AI and ethics in education, AI and ethics in climate change, AI and ethics in business, you name it. So this is how you build demand. In my own CV, this is how I framed myself. Now, if it becomes quite a potpourri. I've done physics, I've done philosophy, I've done first aid, I've done mental health, I've done this and that. How do you turn this thing into a narrative that people will appreciate? Into one line. This is something that's really helpful to practice, and I'm giving you an example. So I say I draw on my 10 plus years experience as a science educator, school leader, education policy maker, emergency medical technician, and public health social entrepreneur in Pakistan to now pursue my doctoral research in decolonizing science education in Muslim contexts. So the thing I want you to appreciate in this sentence is that I am summarizing all my previous experience, but I'm summarizing it in a way that it makes sense that this will help me now do what I want to do, which is studying science education in Muslim context. Um, and then you can have a look at the arrow at the bottom where I talk about what my PhD research is. This is the kind of language you would want to use in a personal statement if you're applying for a career shift and you want to do something interdisciplinary. Through my previous academic and professional work in education and public health, I came to realize that countless social problems are aggravated by lack of conversations around science and religion. I also realized that many of these challenges are a consequence of the ongoing impact of centuries of colonialism in the global south. This is why my PhD research focuses on decolonizing science education from within an Islamic framework. Uh, just before we continue, are there any questions? I'll wait 10 seconds in case anyone wants to ask a question, then I'll move forward.
Are we here discussing the career transition from humanities to data science or vice versa?
We're doing both. I'm just starting with one and then I'll jump to the other.
All right, all right.
Any other questions? Okay. So, what I'd like us to do is spend again 5 minutes in breakout rooms, just 5 minutes. And this is important. Now, whatever field you are, suppose, for example, you are, I don't know, within economics and you want to go into biology or you want to go into medicine, whatever it is, just think about it's good to warm ourselves up with this. These are three questions. How would you pitch your transition from one field to another to family at a dinner party, which is something you're going to have to do very often, all the time? Secondly, how would you pitch your transition to people in your old profession? If you're going from economics to biology, how is this going to make sense to people in your old profession so that they'll want to support you, they'll understand the logic of it, and they will actually connect you with people so you can move forward? And thirdly, how would you pitch to people in your new aspired profession? So, for example, if you're an economist and you're jumping into biology, and now you're talking to a biologist, how will you make that linkage happen? And the hint to doing this is what I mentioned earlier, which is use what you already have. Make your previous experience count to the audience you are now speaking with. So without further ado, Miss Aisha, could we have 5 minute breakout rooms?
So just give me a minute and I'll.
Thank you. Uh, and while that's being set up, if anyone wants to ask a quick question, most welcome. I'll just put these
I
questions.
do have a question actually.
Please. Yep.
So, yeah, we mentioned
Go ahead. Oh, okay.
I'm saying the big breakout room.
And listening into your conversation. And yeah, it would be nice if you could consider the questions, and I'll be happy to add some input as well. Shall we begin, say, for example, with, I don't know, Sultan?
Sama, me, you, and Sultan are in the main room, and while the students have been assigned in breakout room.
Okay, okay.
Sultan is also part of the CSO team. Guys, Sonia, Abdullah, and Arslan, you can use this room as a breakout room.
Can you also please paste the questions in the chat? Thank you, and assign me a breakout room. Thank you.
Okay, so just before we continue, I think someone has a question. Mohammed Mohit, please go ahead.
Sir, I asked you the question in the breakout room, and I think
Uh, Yep, absolutely. So what I'm going to do is quickly summarize three conversations I had with people because I know these are questions that are going to come up again and again. The first question was, okay, I'm from a computer science background and I want to move into UX. How can I do this when I don't have any prior background? My first bit of advice was don't rely on getting formal internships. They are a waste of time because you will end up being at the mercy of someone who is senior to you and you will spend most of your time sitting at the office just Googling, waiting for their attention. You can use the 2 or 3 months you would have spent at that internship with a fancy brand name, instead doing work with the local NGO at a school, building a really exciting portfolio of things for them. For example, you can work with other UX people in your team and you can say, please let me take the lead while you kind of guide me. I'll make your life easy by doing your work for you. And go to a poor school somewhere within your city and be like, I'll design a website for you. And then within a month, produce a beautiful website in which you have low pressure on you. And that becomes something you can add to your CV into your online portfolio. That would be of much more value than any kind of fancy internship that doesn't actually lead to much. And any intelligent employer will look at your CV and appreciate that. Second was a question about, um, so I use Islam within my work, and I very explicitly talk about it: Islamic leadership, Islamic views of science, etc. How do I get away with that when people are afraid of talking about Islam within academia? And my answer to that is this is where you have to learn how to code switch. You have to know who your audience is. If you're talking to people who are not from an Islamic background and who are not interested in religion, use language that appeals to them: culturally relevant teaching, community empowerment, indigenous knowledge, decolonizing. This sort of language is appealing to a larger audience. And if you are talking to people who have the same affinity with you and interest in Islam, then use that language. You can code switch from one to another. And this is a really important skill to have when you're working across different disciplines and people with different kinds of expertise. A third question was, if I have a bachelor's in management sciences and I want to transition to data science, what can be of benefit to me? Number one, with a management sciences degree, you are studying how organizations work, which is really important because it helps you understand a context in which data science is going to be applied all the time. Management efficiency and how you use data to figure out, make sense of that. Secondly, it gives you access to qualitative and quantitative research skills, which are the ABCs of building skill within data science. And the particular gentleman who asked me also has a minor in computer science, which is beautiful because that's required for data science. This is all to say that it doesn't matter where you want to switch from one field to another. Think about what are the skills you are really learning and apply and sell that to your new field. And yeah, learn how to talk about narrative. Uh, I have time for one question, then I can jump to the next slide. Okay, I guess we're good. So then I will just do a screen share again and get back to here. So, okay, how would you pitch your trend? So I hope people had a conversation on these fronts and we can discuss this in the Q&A, what you discussed. And we're going to talk about this as we go into the example in more detail as well. So let me see, where was I? So just okay. So in a nutshell, what we've talked about so far is use what you already have. We've talked about making your previous experience count in new ways. We've talked about how you can possibly build a narrative around the work you're doing and how you can rebrand. Actually, it would be good if someone who just did the discussion activity right now could share what you discussed. If you had a discussion about these three questions, anyone who would like to share what was discussed? Feel free to unmute your mic and share.
If अगर कोई और नहीं करा तो I had a conversation, so it was not exactly, but we were discussing कि अगर हमने shift करना भी है तो there is this financial challenge and risk associated with it, and with the current uh, is everything in the world, so ये risk लेना एक बहुत बड़ी एक चीज हो जाती है कि अगर आपने career switch करना भी है तो उसमें एक तो सबसे बड़ा challenge finance का आ सकता है, अगर आप switch करो because आपका experience नहीं है उस field के अंदर, तो उस चीज को किस तरह से, जिस तरह अभी कमेंट में भी किसी ने कहा है.
So, this issue of financing again. So, for example, you currently are doing a stable career and you're earning lots of money. No one is saying that tomorrow you have to jump into a completely new career. You can transition it. Yeah, as I suggested, rather than trying to get experience in which you have to get a new 9 to 5 job, keep your current 9 to 5 job and do volunteer work or pro bono work or consulting work with flexible timelines and deadlines so that you can build that portfolio. And in this way, you are gradually building your experience in a new field without giving up your old profession. Then, when you have a nice amount of experience, then what you can do is start talking to your family and to your colleagues about, okay, I want to make a switch. Um, and because you will have been doing pro bono work with people, you will be able to talk to those clients. Okay, if you were to hire me in the future, how much would you possibly pay me? Uh, so for example, if you're jumping from English literature to data science, you're going to definitely have a huge pay bonus. In the next example, we'll be talking about going from mechanical engineering to performing arts, and there are ways to get a pay bonus out of that as well. So, but the short response is do it in phases. Do not give up your current job. There is no need to. You can build experience without having to lose your current base. If you need a degree, there are many fully funded scholarships across the world that give you the funding to do this kind of degree shift. I took advantage of them. And many companies, high paying companies, if you already have a portfolio of work and you're networking with them, they themselves will ask you, why don't you join us while you're doing your current 9 to 5? So you will already have a job offer before you even consider jumping into a new profession. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. So where was I? Okay. So now let's think about our current network, right? You are someone who is currently, I don't know, an English literature major. And now you think, how can I access people from a data science background when I've been around people who love books and, thinking about plot? You have a university network, you will have WhatsApp groups, you will have people from your old school who have now gone into further careers. You have LinkedIn and other social media platforms. You have religious activity spaces. For example, maybe some of you have gone for etikaf in Ramzan and you've networked with some other people who are doing etikaf and you've realized that they're from different fields and you can make use of that. You have your current workplace where you have people who may have jumped from another field. You have your family, you have your friends, and especially in the development sector, you have people who play football and volleyball. And these development sector people, it's just a thing in Pakistan. They play football and volleyball in the evening. And then this is a great way for them to network and discover new job opportunities and to consider career transitions. Uh, Make use of this network. Ask people who you haven't connected with in a while. I'm considering jumping into your field. Do you have any tips? Do you have any pro bono work I could do? Just like, if I could help you with the current task you're doing, and you can add it to your CV. You don't need to have a certificate of verification that everything you did in your CV happened. When you're applying to a new job or when you're applying to university, no one checks whether you have a certificate from your employer that you actually did this work. They will be able to tell from your interview whether you've actually done it. So do not hesitate to jump into your current network to jump into a new network. Any questions on this? Okay, moving on. So I advise you to look at this blog. It's by this Turkish a person called Yigit Asik. He actually jumped from English literature to data science. It's a blog on Medium. You can easily view it. And it actually tells you step by step how he built this portfolio. And I think we've talked about this a fair bit now. Work shadowing. So what is work shadowing? Suppose, for example, you don't have any experience in data science, and you work at a fancy company like, I don't know, GlaxoSmithKline or Unilever, or you work at a private school or whatever it is. Now, you need to build a relationship with people in data science. You can do that by inviting them to your current place of work and saying that, why don't you come and give a talk? Our colleagues would love to learn from you. That's a great way to build a network with such a person in a way that they appreciate because you're promoting them. And at the same time, to ask them, can you give me some leads? Secondly, you can go and actually send emails to employers that you don't want to do an internship. You don't want to be paid by them. You just want to sit with them in the office for one day to see how they do their leadership work, how they do their actual day job. People will hesitate to do internships because that's a long-term commitment. People will hesitate to give you paid work because they don't know you. But if you're just saying, "Can I come for a day and just sit with you wherever you think is appropriate in certain meetings, just to observe silently?" um, that has been a really clever way for a lot of people to land job opportunities. But of course, because you're saying, of course, I'll sit silently, but it's just human nature that when you're sitting next to someone, they want to chat with you. And that's a great way for you to showcase your personality and your previous experience and for them to open opportunities for you. We've talked about personal initiatives. By this, I mean, for example, going to a small charity school and doing initiatives for them that allow you to dramatically build your portfolio. Certification and degrees, we will jump into more detail, and portfolio creation, we will just jump into more detail. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, jumping into certification and degrees. Now, if, for example, you want to build a master's in data science and you have an English literature background, you can do online certifications from many different MOOCs, as they're called, Coursera, etc. And those are open to everyone. And those look really good on your CV. Sometimes you have to pay for them. Sometimes you can say you need a scholarship and they'll give it to you. But beyond that, sometimes you actually need a new master's degree or some other kind of degree. Now, for example, if you are jumping from economics to biology, uh, you are going to need to learn some biology, but you don't have to do a whole new undergrad in biology. What you could do is take the GRE subject test in biology. That's a great international standard test that if you score high on, you're able to showcase that even though you're from an unconventional background, you can do it. I've seen lots of people do this and get admission into unconventional programs. But then you also need to know what are your sources of funding. The Fulbright, for example, loves people who are jumping from one field to a completely different field and sponsoring them. Now, HEC scholarships, for example, are more focused. They want to see that what you're doing, your master's or your PhD in, that they're going to sponsor, that you have a relevant bachelor's degree in, and that you have already taken their GAT test or whatever. So what I'm saying is there is hope. There are scholarships out there in the world that specifically look and celebrate people who are jumping from one discipline to another. And there are scholarships that allow you to enhance yourself in your current field as well. Any questions? This then brings me to, okay, suppose I want to do a master's in data science. Now, some programs will be rigid. For example, National University of Singapore, it says on its website for a master's in data science, you need to have a 4-year bachelor's degree in a quantitative science. So if you're an English literature major, they won't consider you. However, if you look at Northwestern University in the US, what does it say? Our program does not have required prerequisites. It means that it doesn't matter what your major is, they will consider your application. And they're saying you should have a strong background in or aptitude for mathematics and programming, which is common sense. If you're jumping into data science, you need these things. So if you're an English literature major, then what you can do is consider doing the GRE subject test in mathematics. You can consider doing a portfolio of work pro bono with charity schools and so on and so forth that allow you to showcase your portfolio online really quickly. And this looks really good to universities, and then they will give you admission. And I've seen many cases of this happening successfully. Any questions? Please go ahead, Abdul Mukeed.
All right, sir. So the case we're discussing is the shift of field from an undergrad to the master's level.
Mm-hmm.
But I have sort of different case. So if a student is pursuing his undergrad, so for instance, if I consider my case, I'm pursuing my undergrad in economics. But I personally
Mm-hmm.
feel like the field like sales, marketing, and human resource management is something
Mm-hmm.
which fascinates me to pursue my career in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, what steps should I take to like shift from like having the degree of economics in undergrad and then pursuing the career in either sales, marketing, and human resource management?
You have a superpower. If you're doing an undergrad in economics, you have a lot of quantitative analysis skills and you know how to do market research because you understand how to crunch mass data on what people are consuming. That is an essential part of rigorous market research, which is what people who want masters in marketing really look for. The other thing is that you can easily build a portfolio of relevant experience by doing social media pro bono work. Every single organization wants someone that they can pay little money to do social media work for them. And so, if you're willing to deal with a little bit of a very minimum amount of pay or no pay, just so you can learn how to do it, but you can manage a social media page for 2 or 3 months and learn how to use the analytics of Facebook, etc. That is really important, relevant experience you can easily get. Um, if in-person sales as well, how do you actually sell a product? This is things that lots of organizations are always looking for people to be able to do, and they're willing to coach you because it's a job that is very stressful to do, and they're always happy to support people who will help them. And there are many such examples, especially startups are very, very keen on this. So this is all to say that building a relevant experience portfolio in marketing when you have an economics background is very straightforward without having to get a formal 9 to 5 job. And if you are part of student societies while you're doing your undergrad, nothing like it. Become head of marketing or assistant marketing head and go for it. You will learn a lot on the job and build an excellent portfolio. Does that answer the
All
question?
right, perfect. Perfect. Got this, sir.
Yep. Okay. So if you want to see what a portfolio actually looks like in data science, for example, please look at Naledi Hallbrook's profile. You can Google her and you'll find how she's visually expressed the work she has done. Or you can have a look at my own LinkedIn profile, which is not on data science. Now, my work is in Islam science and education, and I use AI to generate images of the past. So this is a blog I wrote on LinkedIn about the Banu Musa brothers, who are three brothers in ancient Baghdad who used to design robots way before we had electricity. And it got 32 reposts, and it led to quite a few job offers and speaking opportunities. So what am I trying to say over here? You have to see what your current style is and what you're comfortable with. But if you put yourself out there on LinkedIn and other platforms, people always direct message you. I had SN Iqbal reach out to me and express his appreciation of this work as well. So if you put yourself on LinkedIn, people will reach out to you, and this will organically build your network in the correct field and give you speaking opportunities and employment opportunities because it allows you to showcase what is your niche, your specific expertise that other people may not have. And here's an example of a Pakistani from Islamabad who has actually made such a transition happen. Do have a look at her LinkedIn profile and see how she's jumped from humanities into STEM. And now I've done enough of humanities into STEM. I know we want to think about the opposite as well. So I'm going to now give everyone this scenario. Jamal has an undergraduate degree in mechanical engineering. He has worked as a technical project manager for 10 years at construction and telecom companies. He now wants to switch his career to performing arts and creative writing. Um, so rather than putting you into breakout groups, which might take a lot of time, would anyone like to take a stab at it? What advice would you give Jamal?
I think that it really depends on his existing skill set because mechanical engineering again does have a component of design to it. So I don't know how. I mean, in different parts of the world, the same degree is taught in a very different manner. So if he has a mechanical engineering where he has a flair for writing and a flair for, let's say, design, he can easily shift to performing arts and creative writing. But otherwise, I think performing arts and creative writing, people who are naturally good at it, they're very like few people. Otherwise, it takes a really good level of skill to be great in, in these areas of performing arts and creative writing. So it depends on, usually, because when I was in STSP, there were people from computer science backgrounds. So they had very weak English skills. They had very weak writing skills. Like people coming from SSC, even in their communication skills, they were not very effective in terms of pitching the product or even writing the same scenario. They're more towards the dry side and technical side of things. So it depends on how transferable his skills is. But yes, I guess with a bit of training and leveraging of skill set, he can switch to this career as well.
I completely agree with you. And you said something really powerful. You should know what your current strengths are. यू बेशक आपने अपना सारा काम जो है मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग में किया हुआ है, लेकिन अगर आप में क्रिएटिविटी है और लोग आपको अप्रिशिएट करते हैं कि आप में क्रिएटिविटी है और आपका एक रुझान है बोलने का और आपका एक रुझान है लिखने का, जो शायद आपको कभी मौका नहीं मिला है अमल करने का क्योंकि आप नंबर्स के साथ काम कर रहे थे, अब उसके बारे में भी पैशनेट थे, तो as long as you have the basic capabilities that you know are going to be helpful in your new field, then consider doing that jump and actually test the waters. So, for example, you have a lot of improv comedy, you have a lot of beginners creative writing groups. You have a lot of fan fiction that people put online onto lots of websites. Try putting some work up and seeing how people give you feedback and see how you feel about it. That's a really good way to test the waters without necessarily having to make a complete career jump. Does anyone else want to add anything? Let's have one more comment.
If nobody responds in 5 seconds, I'll pick and choose myself.
That's 5 seconds. Please go ahead.
I think there's a lot of stuff that can be done, particularly with the access to internet. Just having a mobile phone or just having some spare hours to write about something, and then the entire internet is your audience, and then you can also get to know if people are liking your content or if people are appreciating or criticizing your ability, and then you can have so many different avenues of connecting with relevant people, but also improving what people are not appreciating. So if they want to go in performing arts, for example, they can put up their audition, they can put up their reenactment of a scene online, and people, if they are super talented at that, theater groups or film groups would always reach out to them. And if they are developing in their field, people would give them constructive feedback on how they can improve. Then they can join in online courses or something, particularly about creative writing. If they, I think, are developing in terms of creative writing, they can always look at other samples of creative writings and then try to produce their own work, and then again publish it online and let people know, and let other people know how they are doing. So I think this is one of a very this is something that can be done on an initial stage.
Beautifully put, and I couldn't agree more. And I would add that so also think about what are his current superpowers that he gets from his current degree. He's a mechanical engineer. And if you've ever seen a stage in a theater, especially if you come to these Western countries that have really fancy and theatrical performances that involve a lot of special effects, you can see that mechanical engineering is a very strong part of it because you're going to need props that require lots of different mechanical parts that can do lots of complex things. For example, if you've seen the Lion King play, or you've seen, for example, the Cursed Child play, there's a lot of mechanical engineering that goes into making certain effects happen. So if Jamal is exhausted of being in his current office space and he wants to try something new, but he knows that he needs time to build a certain skill set, but he's tired of his current job, then there is a demand and interest in people who can help with special effects. That's a technical job that allows you to build a network and a mahal immediately in which you have access to creative performing arts people. And this then allows you to then proceed forward. And I think Sarim beautifully summarized how you can make a portfolio happen using the internet, regardless of where you are. And let's not forget AI now. Of course, I'm not saying that AI can substitute a human being in producing genuine, beautiful literature, uh, but it can certainly help you learn and improve, and can be a really helpful tool if there's certain aspects of language you struggle with, but in your mind there is an unformed idea that you can see it coming into real life. Uh, so that is an example of jumping from mechanical engineering to performing arts. If he wants to get admission into a university, it's not an issue. Because creative arts degrees usually do not require a bachelor's in creative arts. They require you to have a portfolio. And if you've built that, then you're good to go. Any questions on this front? I mean, it'll be really interesting to consider how he's going to go about this, right? How are you going to pitch this transition to your family at a dinner party when they're going to be like, what are you doing? You have a stable career, and now you want to go into something that is completely alien. Um, and so you have to argue, you have to build a case that you're gradually building a portfolio and you will get access to paid jobs in other fields as well. As I suggested, for example, if you use your mechanical engineering skill set to do special effects and theatrics within performing companies, then that's a great way to make that transition in a way that can help make people in your zone of support more comfortable with what you are doing, and can help give them a tasalli that you are getting employed and respectable income in your new field while you're getting good at it. Of course, these examples can be unpacked forever and you can add more details and context. I would have done this in a breakout room, but we're in a short of time. So another thing I wanted to talk about, and I've kind of highlighted is already, is extend your network. So on the image on the right is, for example, Engro, which has a talks program. They invite lots of speakers who are celebrities and across fields in Pakistan. And a lot of us are working at various organizations in Pakistan and abroad. And we can invite people and be part of that organizing team. And that's a great way to build that network. Um, Social media, I've already talked about. Attending events is something that is often underestimated, and I want to elaborate on that a bit more. A lot of us are introverts, some of us are extroverts. And in my opinion, going to a networking party is usually not very helpful if you are an introvert because you won't really be able to reach out to people and start a conversation and get what you want out of it. And frankly speaking, at networking parties, people don't trust each other because they're just meeting each other for the first time. And there's usually too much noise and there's too much food, and people quickly are jumping from conversation from one person to another. And then they say, okay, let's follow up on email. And then that's very hard to do. And it just feels like you've been, like judged on the basis of your, 2-minute pitch about yourself as opposed to who you are as a human being. So I get that. Networking is not about networking parties. It is about, as I was mentioning earlier, where is it? This. That, for example, you go for football, you go for volleyball, you go for religious activities, you have a meetup every now and again with people you already know from your school or from your university. These are people who already know you to an extent that you are comfortable with, you have built a rapport with, you may be part of WhatsApp groups in which you're already comfortable with. Use those opportunities to talk about now you're considering a career shift. And you will be surprised at how many people will help you make that happen. I can't emphasize this enough. This has led me to getting many different job offers across my life and opening many different doors for me. There is no need to go to special networking events. Just make use of what you already have and talk about it more openly that you're considering a career shift, and people will open doors because we often really underestimate the extent to which we already have a network that will open doors for us. What else did I want to say? Another thing is that jobs are rarely gotten through applying by email. I know most people, what they do after they do their master's or their undergrad is they will send an email to XYZ employer saying, hi, I've come out of this university and I would like a job. No one is going to respond to you. Even if you are a career professional with 20 years of experience and you're sending a cold email, chances are no one is going to respond to you. They may, for formality, put you into the interview process, but they may already have a candidate in mind. This is not something that is special to Pakistan. This is true of all over the world, including the UK, the US, Australia, Japan, so on and so forth. So by building your network And by talking about what you want to do and leveraging people who already know you, you can get references. You can get someone who is working at a company you'd like, and they will refer you inside the company, and you will suddenly see that all the bureaucracy will finish, and they will say, let's talk about actually, what your contract would be. Um, so this is something I keep emphasizing. If you use LinkedIn, if you're talking to people about what you want to do, if you're doing pro bono consulting for them, that is much more likely to lead to a high paying job than cold applications to job applications you see on the internet. Any questions about this, or anyone want to push back on this? Okay, cool. I guess no one disagrees with it. Uh, and this is my last little tip. I can't emphasize this enough. And I'm sure if you reflect on your own lives, you will see this is true, that if you do a favor for someone else, if you do something good for someone else that helps them, especially in a time of their need, your intention should never be, I'm helping them because they'll get, do something back from me in return. But in my own life and in the life of a lot of people I have known, when you do good to other people and you're there for them when they need you, they open doors for you in your life. And that is the most powerful network you can possibly have. Um, so, a few things about soft skills I want to say without being generic. The first is that as I just mentioned, doing good deeds for others without any expectation of return and without reminding them of your kindness will give you immense returns in the long run. The other thing is whether you are doing a pro bono job for someone and you're just starting out, or you have a portfolio of 10 years of experience in your previous career, if you have built a reputation as someone who is honest, hardworking, and goes beyond expectations, someone who is friendly and is not likely to shame everyone on social media or, start backbiting or create like drama in the office, people are very happy to compromise on your skill set and say it's okay if you don't have the skill set as long as you are someone who brings joy in the office space and is someone who is willing to learn. We would prefer to hire you over someone who has a fancy degree but has a lot of akkar in them, which a lot of LUMS graduates are quite famous for in the market. But that would be one really important tip. The other is if you are working at a job where you have a toxic employer who really frustrates you, um, my advice would be to try not to get 9 to 5 jobs anymore if you can. I know it's not the gig economy as well as such, but if you can get 1 or 2 or 3 jobs, one main job, but 2 or 3 other jobs that give you additional sources of income or things to fall back on, it allows you to strategically maneuver and to tap into other job opportunities without being overly dependent on one job where you may have a toxic mahal and then you're unable to get out of it. And then some drama happens. And then when you want to leave the job, they're giving you a bad review. These were 2 or 3 things I really wanted to emphasize over here. Uh, with that, that's the end of my presentation. So we'll just open it up to general Q&A.
Sir, just had a follow-up question to the one I asked about management sciences and data science.
Yep.
While I was checking university master requirements, a lot of them said that you should have a technical bachelor's like mathematics or
Mm-hmm.
physics or computer science. So, as someone who is from a management sciences background, would I be eligible to applying these programs considering the degree requirement?
Have a look at this slide over here. So you are right. Some bachelor's degree programs, some master's programs require you specifically to have a certain kind of bachelor's. But look at this program at the bottom over here. For example, from Northwestern University, it says you do not need to have a bachelor's in XYZ subject. You could be doing a bachelor's in, I don't know, Urdu literature for that matter, whatever you like. As long as you can prove, for example, you can take the GRE in math, you can take the GRE in, well, math would make the most sense. So you could do that, or and at the same time, you can online through your LinkedIn and through creating a website, highlight the relevant work you have done on a project basis by working with different companies pro bono or otherwise. And you can put this into your university application and it will go a long way. You can also do pro bono work, or you can do research assistantships for professors at universities abroad. And then they will mentor you on how to get your application through, and they will pitch for you. So do not be disheartened if you want to make a career shift. You can make it, but you have to be intelligent about which universities will allow you to do that. But there are many universities that will allow you to jump into a new field, even if you don't have a relevant previous bachelor's degree.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? I'm just going to stop sharing and see if there are any comments in the chat. I haven't had a chance to look. Okay, so yes, and
CSO advising.
sorry, please go ahead. I guess someone was speaking with their mic off. Okay, so I see there's two questions. Sorry, I'm just having a look at the chat now. I wasn't able to look at it earlier. Was the GRE or GMAT required to study for fully funded GATE scholarship? No, you do not need the GRE for any scholarships outside of the US, but it's helpful to do it, especially if you're making a career jump. If you don't have a background in physics and you want to apply for a PhD in physics, you had better show you can do physics. And if you don't have a bachelor's in physics, then do the GRE in physics, which is the gold standard across the world for seeing that you have the level of expertise required to do it. So that there's another question. Everyone is more than welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, now additionally, how has your experience at Columbia paved the way for your journey into Cambridge? Many ways. I think it was a 2 year master's program. There were only 3 courses that were compulsory. The other 20 something courses I could take from across the university. They did not even have to be in education. So I was able to do courses in law, courses in leadership, courses in philosophy, courses in psychology, etc. And this allowed me to build a portfolio that has helped me a lot to this date. It's also allowed me to build a network with many other departments at Columbia beyond simply the School of Education. Columbia has provided me with a lot of funding. For my social enterprise, I've received funding from Columbia University and from Harvard University for the work that we do. And that obviously has added a certain level of prestige and has also given us some financial capital to build our work on. And it continues to support because even at Cambridge, Columbia is a brand name that is well known and it can open doors. Yeah, I would say that in a nutshell is some ways it has supported. I see we have a question from Ali. Please go ahead.
I was applying for a master's in computer science, and I did get into a few universities. But I was applying for TAships and RShips, but I saw that none of the professors were replying. So, do you have a list of universities where, like, we could potentially easily get funding without, suppose, a Fulbright scholarship or a Commonwealth scholarship? Like, is there a list of universities where we can easily get TAships, RShips for masters in computer science?
Many. Firstly, to your point about reaching out to professors, you don't need to, if you're doing a PhD, for example, then some universities require you to reach out to professors, other universities do not. Cambridge, for example, encourages you to reach out to a professor. Oxford does not require you to reach out to a professor. I got into both, and the only reason I'm sharing that is because if you want some support with university admissions, I'm happy to help. But my point is that it's not a requirement to reach out to a professor. अगर आपका तारुफ हो जाए किसी और से जिनके साथ आपने काम किया हुआ पाकिस्तान में, तो that obviously is very helpful. To your second point, which was about what was it about university-specific scholarships? There are many. For example, at Harvard, there is a whole fellowship from Syed Babar Ali. He sponsored a whole fellowship over there. It's in his name. You can look it up. There's a Benazir Bhutto scholarship at Harvard. There are many universities have their own specific scholarships. For example, Stanford University has something called the Knight Hennessy Scholarship. Oxford has something called the Rhodes Scholarship. Cambridge has something called the Gates Scholarship. A lot of scholarships do not have names. You just apply to the university and then they consider you for funding and then they'll give it a name. For example, when I applied to Columbia, though I got the Fulbright scholarship, I also got scholarship from the university itself. and then they called it the Teachers College Scholarship. So my point is that it wasn't publicly advertised, but then they gave it to me. So when you apply, always apply with this mindset that they may have hidden sources of funding that you may not immediately know about, but that they may make accessible to you. Having said that, right now is not a good time to invest in applying to the US because chances are you may end up being persecuted the way things currently are. But I would strongly, if I know many people have dreams, so by all means, I'm happy to help you apply. But consider, for example, the UK, Australia, Japan, China, especially for STEM fields right now. There are many other alternatives, and I suspect that the world order is changing, and many of the prestigious universities that are prestigious today will probably not be so within 10 to 15 years. There's a global shift happening, but I could be wrong. Allah knows best. Any other questions? Uh, I know we're officially out of time, so just I'm happy to stay behind for a bit in case anyone wants to chat with me further. Otherwise, I guess we can officially conclude this, Miss Aisha.
Yep, if like no students have any question, then we can conclude.
So officially, thank you to everyone for joining and for asking so many wonderful questions. I hope this was helpful. And my email, sure. I will
In
send you
case you
my
have,
email.
yeah, sure. Like we can either email it to me directly and I'll forward it to you, or you can share your email over here and they can email you directly. It's up to you.
I will send you my email so you can email me your phone number so we can chat over WhatsApp because I get really exhausted replying to emails. I will respond to you on WhatsApp over voice notes and give you very detailed and context specific advice to your case. Do not worry. But email responses I can take my time with because it's just somehow more cognitive load for me. But yes, anyone is welcome to reach out to me and I will be very happy to help. Any other questions? Let's see. There's one from Wahaj Imran. I've been reflecting on the idea of being a jack of all trades, but master of none. Given your vast experience, not vast, how do you see this trait? Well, I mean, why do you have to be a jack of all trades? You can build expertise within one core area, which most of us end up doing because we have a bachelor's degree. I presume everyone here has a bachelor's degree. So you have some core area of expertise, and then you're building new things that add on to it. Um, and being able to think across disciplines is a superpower. So, in Silicon Valley in the US, some of the highest paying individuals at tech firms are liberal arts majors because they know how to talk about artificial intelligence and all of this research in a way that appeals to other human beings and connects with their hearts. It allows these liberal arts majors because they know how to speak with different people. They're able to bring a lot of people together. They're able to bring the really technical STEM people who can speak quantitatively, but not necessarily in the language a lot of other people, to people who are amavam. This is a stereotype, but it's also true to an extent. So my point is that um, not a jack of all trades, but if you know how to talk about all trades, that's a superpower. Any other questions I have missed? I think I've addressed more or less the questions. Yep, I'm around for another 5-10 minutes in case anyone wants to ask me anything else. Otherwise, by all means, enjoy the rest of your evening. I see Ali has a question, maybe?
Yes, so I had a follow-up question. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, this year I did apply to the US and I got in a few universities, but I don't think my GPA or my research is good enough for for a scholarship yet. So
Mm-hmm.
what would you say my next steps be? Like, should I like go looking for a job, or should I like do another year of research and apply again? What would the best next
If
steps be, or should I look at applying to scholarships?
if you have a poor GPA, life happens, and you should totally own it up. It's okay. You can talk about how within your undergrad degree, there was a personal loss, or at the time you were not engaged with the curriculum because of the way it was being taught, whatever it is. And you can say that this is in no way a reflection of my actual aptitude. And then you can take a GRE test. You can actually get a letter of recommendation from someone who is an expert in your field that you want to go and saying you have that subject knowledge. This makes a big difference in terms of doing a job. rather than doing a 9 to 5 job, my advice would be to do several different odd jobs that allow you to more rapidly build your experience portfolio. Because honestly, most 9 to 5 jobs are sitting and waiting for a task to happen and spending your time wasted in office politics. If you can instead do 3 or 4 consulting opportunities that are very specific, laser focused on building the experience you need for your application and to strengthen it. And you can publish that online on LinkedIn and on a website that will go a lot further for your application to top universities. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. If I asked a question that seems to have disappeared in the chat, please go ahead, Javed Ali, or is that Ali? I can't see Javed Ali, but if you can just unmute yourself if you have a question, please go ahead.
So Javed asked, I have completed my master's in physics from LUMS, but I have been facing significant challenges in securing a job or position directly related to my field. Despite actively searching for over a year and exploring various opportunities, I have not been successful in finding a relevant role. My primary goal remains to pursue a fully funded PhD. However, the ongoing difficulty in advancing in this path has left me feeling extremely frustrated and disheartened. Currently, I am facing financial stress and lack family support, which limits my ability to invest time and money into retaining or further education. I am seeking advice on potential career options that align with my skills and how to navigate this transition given my current challenges.
Firstly, may Allah make your burdens easier and definitely do make dua. Beyond that, I would say that reach out to me personally. I can help you in a lot more detail. My own bachelor's is in physics from the same program, so I can you can look for a degree, you can look for a job directly in physics that involves doing physics research. In Pakistan, the scope and the pay of such a job is very low. But if you have been applying to those jobs by simply emailing employers, you will not get in. As I mentioned, the way to get a job is through networking and through reference. This applies not only to Pakistan, but the rest of the world as well. If you have professors at LUMS and at other universities who know you and who support you, ask them, can you introduce me to someone else who I can do pro bono work with for half a month, just so I can show what I can do. That will open doors for you. Now, physics majors are desperately needed in so many schools across Pakistan to teach physics. I don't know where to begin. I have lost track of how many elite private schools are frustrated that they do not have people with physics backgrounds teaching physics. Funnily enough, this is the case in the UK as well. They don't have enough physics teachers. You would think that the UK would have enough physics teachers. They don't. So if you're interested in a job in teaching as a stopgap measure while you focus on your physics PhD application, teaching jobs at elite private schools pay handsomely, 1 lakh plus for starters as well. So that would not be something to worry about. Thirdly, as a physics major, you can get job within the financial sector. There's a Pakistani physicist. He's a string theorist. His name is Asad Naqvi. After doing his PhD in string theory and publishing in things that most of us would be very scared to even pronounce, he spent a lot of time working at Wall Street in the finance market. And that's because he has a quantitative problem solving skill set that he can use towards data modeling and things of that nature that is very lucrative. So if you are a physics major, you can easily jump into the job market in anything that requires quantitative analysis. But you will not get that job if you apply through cold email. Find a reference. Mohammed Asad, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you so much, Osama. I can see the warmth and your intentions to help the people out. So I had just one question. So applying to different schools at this moment, so it seems it's quite difficult. So how do you see the third party scholarships as like Fulbright, and then at the end of the day it's not bad. You have to go back to Pakistan, but you see your network and your all worth comes down to at the same page. Where did you start, right? So how do you see this one? And this the follow-up question for that one is like the Cambridge and Oxford and like top schools. So people are competing. How would you stand, how would you make your application stand out from the whole crowd? Like, what is the thing that you would say, like, that is the most, prevalent in all the applications to stand out in these top schools? Thank you so much.
Whew, okay, so number one, Fulbright, for example, specifically, is really interested, especially if you are not from Lahore and Karachi and Islamabad. You get bonus points in the application if you are from Quetta or you are from, I don't know, Thatta. If you are a woman, you get more bonus points. If you are someone who studied at a public university, not at LUMS, you get more bonus points. So universities and scholarships have an equality, diversity, inclusion policy that they usually have in place. Despite Trump, they still have it, that they need to, they want people from underrepresented walks of life. And they will give you a bonus in your scoring in your application if you can highlight that you are, for example, from Waziristan. So that's one thing. I have sat on many Fulbright interview discussions, and I have seen that it's the same thing. I mean, why are all the people who can speak so well in English from a few certain universities in Pakistan and everyone else speaks in a different way? You can't you have to be more selective in your criteria because it's not their fault they didn't get an elite education, and so they get bonus points. This happens. Um, with regards to Cambridge, etc., it's the same story. If you're someone from an unconventional background, they will prefer to admit you over the billionth person from Lahore. So another thing is that how do you make your application stand out? Um, the best way to do that is to be authentic. That is not something I can tell you within 1 to 2 minutes over here. But I can tell you that writing a sob story or writing a story in which you're artificially talking about your identity does not help. The purpose of an essay is not to, share all of your life's problems and earn sympathy from the reader. The idea is to argue that this has happened in my life, this is how I've grown from it, and these are the skills I have learned, and this is the societies and contexts and cultures I now have familiarity with, and hence I will be someone who can contribute to this field in a new way because I bring fresh thinking in with a fresh perspective because I have a different origin story, something like that. I'm very happy to help you on in a one-to-one conversation in more detail, but everyone can write a unique narrative. You don't, and the best way to get a unique narrative also is to not do the same thing everyone else is doing. Model United Nations, okay, get a job at a big fancy brand firm, and have fancy sounding job descriptions in which you don't actually do much initiative. Um, no one cares. Uh, I mean, if you've done something different, if you've taken an initiative in your community, that goes miles ahead. Having said that, everyone does not have to be unique in their application. There are scholarships and funding opportunities for those who have a very, very traditional application as well. For example, you've done a bachelor's in physics, you've done really good on your GRE score in physics, and now you want to do a PhD in physics. Apply to the HEC scholarship, apply to the Commonwealth scholarship, even apply to the Fulbright scholarship, no problem. Traditional merit is still valued as well across the world, and you will, inshallah, on the basis of just your test scores, be able to get admissions to a lot of universities as well. Different universities and different scholarships look for different things. Any other questions?
I guess that's about it. No other students have any questions? Thank you, Sama, for the lovely session and giving us so many insights. I'm sure students will have learned a lot the way me and Sultan have learned throughout the session. Thank you, everyone, for joining in the session.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
Take
Sama.
care, and please do feel free to reach out via email so we can chat on WhatsApp, and I'm happy to help you however much you like. Take care, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. Bye bye.
Mm.
एंजॉय किया और ना किया उसके पीछे पड़ गई थी तो भाई